Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my followers, depending on where you're watching me from. If you have been following me, within this week I posted a solution to a question which I promised to drop the video by weekend, and today I'll be dropping the video. Here is the question which I have solved earlier. The question says find the root of f of x equal to x squared minus 2 using the secant method with s0 equal to 1 and x1 equal to 1.5. So we are going to be using secant method to solve this question. Now what is secant method? Secant method is an iterative numerical method that is used to find the root of an equation. So without wasting too much of your time, let's just dive in. Now first and foremost, I'm going to be writing the solution of this question. The solution. And the question, I'm going to bring out the parameter. I was given f of x. I'm going to write it out. x1 is 1. s0 is 1, x1 is 1.5. So I'm going to write them out. Given that f of x equal to s squared minus 2. S squared minus 2, s0 equal to what? 1, x1 equal to 1.5. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to write the secant formula. Secant formula. We're going to write secant formula. The secant formula. Secant formula is written as xn plus 1 equal to. Please, you have to be careful while writing secant formula. You have to be very careful. You don't need to be distracted. Xn minus 1 f of x1 minus x1 f of xn minus 1 over f of x1 minus f of x0. So this is a secant formula. We're going to use this formula to solve this particular question. Now, in this formula, in the question, we have x0, we have x1. The both are given. So the thing we're going to do, we're going to start for second iteration. Since it's assumed that first iteration is x1, x2 is second iteration. Since our x1 is 1.5, so we're going to solve our solving from second iteration. So we just said second iteration. Second iteration. We're going to start for second iteration since our first iteration, which is s1, is 1.5. So we're going to start from x2. We're going to look for x2 until we get the square root of this formula. That's where we're going to stop. So secant method is very easy. If you follow up, it's not difficult at all. So we're going to start with this. Our x2 from here, n is an odd number. So since x0 is 1, we're going to have 1 minus 1 is 0. So here will be x0. F of x1 minus x1 f of x0 over f of x1 minus f of s0. This will be the formula we're going to use for second iteration. Now, if we look at our parameter, we have x0, we have x1. We don't have anything like f of x1, we don't have anything like f of x0. So to do that is very easy. So f of x1 equal to get f of x1, substitute the value of x1 equal into this formula, into this equation to get x1. So let's go. I'm going to substitute the value. The value of x1 is 1.5. 1.5 square minus 2. 1.5 square is 2.25 minus 2. 2.25 minus 2 will give us 0.25. This is our f of x1. Hope it's very easy. Now the next step, we are going to look for f of x0. Now let's look for f of x0. So f of x0 equal to, now x0 is also given as what? 1. We're going to substitute this 1 into this equation. So I'm going to have 1 square minus 2. 1 square is 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 is what? Minus 1. Minus 1. Now since it's negative, we can take the modulus to make it positive. Modulus of minus 1 is what? 1. Now since we have this, we are going to what? Substitute into this formula such that x2 equals, our x0 is what? 1. 1 times f of s1 is what? 0.25. 0.25 minus x1 is what? 1.5 times f of s0 is what? 1 over f of x1 is what? F of x1 is 0.25 minus f of x0 is what? F of x0 is 1, such that x2 equal to 1 multiplied by 0.25 will give us 0.25 minus 1.5 times 1 is 1.5. Sorry, it's 1.5. 0.25 minus 1 will give us 0.75. Equal to, now 0.25 minus 1.5 will give us minus 1.25 over 0.75, such that our x2, now we're going to divide 1.25 divide by 0.75. We are going to have minus 1 point. We are going to reduce our answer to 4 decimal place. 1.6667. Since the answer is negative, we're also going to take the modulus. We take the modulus of this. Our x2, our s2 will give us 1.6667. I hope we understand. So this will be our answer for x2. Now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to look for the third iteration. Why are we doing iteration by iteration? Is to get the square root of this, because x squared minus 2, x squared minus 2, if we take the square root of 2, is 1.414. So for us to get that 1.414, we have to what? Solve step by step. Now we're going to do third iteration. Say third iteration. Third iteration. Our third iteration means x3. x3 equal to, from here we're going to get the formula of x3. Since we have gotten x1, x2, we'll be working with sy, s2. No need for us to work with x0 anymore. So here we are going to have x1 f of x2 minus x2 f of x1 over f of x2 minus f of x1. I hope we are following up. Now you can see we only have x2, we don't have f of x2. So here we are going to look for f of x2. Since we have x2, we are going to look for f of x2. The thing you are going to do, you carry this value, substitute it into this formula to get your f of x2. So f of x2 equal to, x2 is 1.667, so I go to 1.667 square minus 2 equal to, now if we take 1.667 times 1.667, that's 2.7779 minus 2. Now the square of this will give us this. Now if we subtract 2, we're going to have 0.7779. This will be our f of x2. Now let's substitute this into this. Since we have x1 already, remember our x1 is what? 1.5. f of x1 is 0.25. So we are going to substitute this into our formula, so such that x3 equal to, x1 is what? 1.5 times, my f of x2 is what? 0.7779. 0.7779. We have successfully substitute this minus. Now my x2 is 1.6667, so 1.6667 times my f of x1 is what? If we go back to our second iteration where we are coming from, f of x1 is 0.25. 0.25 over, now if we go back to our formula, we have f of x2. Our f of x2 is what? 0.7779. 0.7779 minus Now f of x1 is what? 0.25. 0.25. I hope you are following up. Now let's solve this. Let's solve this such that x3 equal to, now 1.5 times 0.7779. This will give us 1.16. Remember, we're working with four decimal places. 1.166, 1.1669 minus, we're also going to multiply this, 1.6667 times 0.25. So it'll give us 0.4167 approximately over. Now the denominator, we are going to have 0.0079 minus 0.25. We're going to have 0.5279. x3 1.1669 minus 0.4167. So we are going to have 0.7502 over 0.5279 equal to, if we divide this, we have divide by 0.5279. I'm going to have 1.44211. Remember, we're working with four decimal places. Now this is our third iteration. We can see if we take the square root of this, the answer is not this. Since the square root of this cannot be this, there is need for us to what? Do our fourth iteration. So we're going to have fourth iteration. Fourth iteration. Our fourth iteration is what? x4. I'm going to have x4 equal to, we are going to get our x4 formula from this formula. Now since we have x2, x3 now, no need for us to work with x1. So we are going to discount x1. So here we are going to say x4 is what? Is x2 f of x3 minus s3 f of s2 over f of x3 minus f of s2. Now if you recall, we have x2 already, we have f of x2, but we don't have f of x3, we have s of s3. Since we have x3, we are going to substitute the value of x3 into this particular equation to get the function of x3, which is f of x3. So f of s3 here will be f of s3. If we substitute, we have what? 1.421111 square Sorry, that's an error. 1.4211 square. Said we are going to do fourth iteration. This is the formula of fourth iteration: s2 f of x3 minus s3 f of x2 over f of s3 minus f of x2. Now if we go back to where we are coming from, if you are paying attention, you can see that in this fourth iteration we don't have f of x3, but where we are coming from we have x3, which is 1.4211. So we are going to substitute this into the given equation to get our function of what? X3. So which I've just written here. So this will give us 1.4211 square. If we take the square root of 1.4211, I'm going to have 2.0195 minus 2. If we deduct 2 out of it, we have 0.0195. This is our f of x3. Now we're going to substitute this into this equation to get our x4, such that our x4 equal to x2. Where we are coming from, you can see our s2 is what? 1.667 times f of x3 is what? 0.0195 times minus x3 is what? S3 is 1.4211. 1.4211 times f of x2. Where we are coming from, f of x2 is 0.7779. So if we substitute, that's what we are going to have over our f of x3 is what? 0.0195 minus f of x2, where we are coming from, or f of x2 is 0.7779. If we solve this, our x4 will give us 1.6667 times 0.0195. This will give us 0.0325. If we multiply this, 1.67 times this will give us this, minus, we're going to multiply this, 1.4211 times 0.7779. This will give us 1.1055 over, if we deduct this, we are going to have, if we deduct it, we are going to have 0.0195 minus 0.7779. We are going to have minus 0.7584, such that our x4, if we deduct this, we are going to have 0.0325 minus 1.1055. We are going to have minus 1.073 divided by minus 0.7584. If we work on this, minus cancel minus, such that we are going to have 1.073 divided by 0.7584. Approximately, we are going to have 1.414. Let's just reduce our answer to 3 decimal place. Now we are going to stop here, because if we check the root of this equation, the root of this equation is going to give us 1.414. So therefore, we are going to say therefore the approximate root of the equation, in quotes, I'm going to call the equation of the equation f of x equal to x squared minus 2 is given as x4 equal to 1.414. Now this is our answer for this particular question using secant method. To cross-check that, we use to cross-check if this answer is correct. If we go back to where we are coming from, look at the equation we are given, f of s equal to s squared minus 2. If we say, for instance, let's check, cross-checking. Let's cross-check. If we cross-check, if f of x is equal to x squared minus 2, we can equate this to 0, such that f of x equal to such that f, like I said, how do we know this is our answer? We cross-check using the given formula. This was the equation given to us. So we equate it to 0, such that s squared minus 2 will be equal to 0. S squared minus 2 equal to 0. If we collect like terms, s squared equal to what? If minus 2 cross to this other side, we have 2. To get our x, we take the square root of both sides. From elementary math, square root means square. So square root symbol will cancel square, remaining x. If we take the square root of 2, it will give us 1.414 to 3 decimal places. So our answer is correct. Our answer is correct, 1.414. That is the approximate root of the given equation using secant method. Thanks for watching. Please, if you are seeing my page for the first time, do as well to follow me. If you have any question, drop your question in the comments below this video, and I will attend to your question. If you don't understand, ask questions. I'm going to attend to your questions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.